What makes a great beginner tin whistle? Well, there happen to be there's five. There's five characteristics that we're going to break down, and I'll tell you which one I think is the best, so stick around. Or you could jump to and find out exactly which one of these four whistles that I picked. I started off the video by saying that there's five categories, five important things you should keep in mind when you're buying a whistle if it's your first one, if you're a beginner. Reliability, consistency between octaves, affordability, low air requirement, and intonation, and whether or not it's tunable. I doubt I have to explain something like reliability and why that's important. It should probably be kind of obvious. But the low air requirement is, to me, that's an important one. There's another whistle called Clark, original Clark. It's not among these four candidates of potential good value, good options for beginners. And the reason for that is because it takes so much air to play the thing. It's just a very breathy instrument. So that and others like it, that's in my consideration, and I think it should be in yours too. Likewise, consistency between octaves. I mean a few things by that, so I want to clarify. One is how much air is required to go between the lower octave and the higher octave. Some whistles, it's a huge difference. Very, very little air in the lower octave and a ton of air in the higher octave. You can figure that out. You can kind of learn that. But as a beginner, I think it helps if the difference in the amount of air required is less. So I'm taking that into consideration too. The other side of that coin, is the thing reliable in both octaves the same way? Do you run the risk of squeaking certain notes in the higher octave and not so much in the lower octave? That's one of those things that, again, you can work around if you're used to it and if you're familiar with it. Not so much if you're just starting out. So why these four whistles? Well, I think they check all the boxes. They're affordable, they're reliable, they have good tone. Not always perfect because they're all manufactured, they're all mass produced. They're not going to be 100% perfect out of the box. But they're reliable and they're consistent, and you kind of know what you're going to get out of these. Now we're going to get down to the science part of this, and we're going to compare all these as closely as I possibly can. Typically when I'm doing a video, I'll run it through my overhead mic and through a compressor, software, and limiters, and various effects. This is going to be as raw as I possibly can so that they're all exactly the same. I'm going to play a basic D scale, and I'm going to play a tune, just the A part of a tune that covers a good range on the whistle, a jig that'll, I think, work pretty well as a baseline for all of these. And then I'm going to compare tuning on all of them. So again, we have some sort of comparison for just how accurate they are, relative to itself at least. Well, what'd y'all think? Which one did you like the best? Could you tell? Was there one that jumped out at you more than another? I came into this thinking it was the sweet tone. that's been the one I've been recommending for a while. That's the first one that I played that I really liked back in college in like late 1990s. It was the first whistle that I had that I thought sounded the way that I wanted it to sound. And it still does. It sounds good. I was remarkably impressed with the Fadog, this Fadog Pro Black D, Fadog Pro Black, whatever it's called. It had that old school sound without losing any of the reliability, which I thought was refreshing and surprising, and I guess I hadn't really played this in a while, and maybe I kind of forgot that. There's something about the sweet tone though that has that, it's got this kind of a hollow sound. It's reminiscent of the original Clark that it was based on, where you can sort of feel wasted air, which is, again, why I didn't recommend that one. Yet somehow, I don't know, somehow it's more rewarding. I don't know, I still like these. I still think this is a good choice. Well, that wasn't great. Now I'm not so sure. A lot of that growl, that grit that you hear in this one, that's just a character of the instrument. It's reminiscent of the Generations and much more expensive whistles that try to mimic that. That's the sound. That's the traditional sound. For beginners, though, I still think I'm stuck on the sweet tone. And the reason is the tone itself. Unfortunately, that characteristic 10-whistle Generation Fadog sound where it feels like it's kind of falling apart, while great and classic, can be a little bit intimidating to folks who are just getting started, I think, because they're never sure if they're getting their breathing technique down right. Whereas with the sweet tone, if it's not right, you'll know it, and you can usually correct for it pretty much straight away. That's my recommendation. What do you think? Agree? Disagree? What did you start with? Something different? I think I asked that question actually a long time ago, and I got a remarkable variety of responses. So let me know. I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers, guys.